To start with, this story comes from a very personal place for you, Thea.
Yes.
It's based on your father and a period of time in his life before his death. I'm curious to know what you saw in Slavko and Olive that made you trust them as actors. Their beauty. To tell this story.
I think during the casting process, we were just really looking for just that real sense of truth. Olive was cast first, and we kept coming back to their tape over and over again. We would watch other people's, and then we would go back to theirs and be like, they had so much nuance in their first tape that we received, and yeah, it was quite sure very early on, me, Alex, and Sophie, my producers, that we wanted to see more of Olive, and yeah, I think I was never looking for myself. It was a daughter role, and it was a daughter that was represented in this film as opposed to it being me personally. So yeah, and then Slavko, finding Slavko was
like Finding Nemo.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yes, and that joke right there is why he got the part. Finding Vlad was a really long process. Again, I wasn't interested in casting by looks or what my dad looked like or anything like that. We were really trying to find the inner soul of him and his charm, and we really needed audiences and ourselves to fall in love with Vlad so that we can root for him through his bad decisions. And when we recalled Slavko, we all fell in love with him on his Zoom call. I feel like we were giggling afterwards, honestly.
What did you say? I was laughing.
We were focus.
I stopped it.
I feel like we were all charmed by him. Like Slavko, basically on his Zoom, he couldn't come. We had recalls in Belgrade, in Serbia, and Slavko couldn't make them in person, obviously, because he is a star.
We don't have this much time.
Sorry. Okay, and so anyway, we recorded him on Zoom, and he was like moving his laptop around, trying to find the right lighting and stuff, and I was like, this is making a lot of sense. This is what Vlad would do, you know? Yeah. And so anyway, it was the innate charm that we were looking for, and the softness and the ability to understand the themes without judging them. And Slavko embodied that.
And Olive and Slavko, I suppose a similar question. I mean, when there's playing like people, but based on real life, but it's a different thing being directed by someone who your character is loosely based on. And I'm curious, did that inform how you approached the film as actors? Did it change your process at all in terms of getting into the characters?
See what I go first.
Yeah, I think initially I really was like, I approached it in this way where I really was so hungry. I'm like a sponge and for information, and like need information and research, and like any information I can have as an actor is like so helpful. And so I think like so many of the initial conversations with Thea, I was like, so like when this happened for you or something like that, and like I think Thea really set this precedent and like this boundary with me that the character is not her. And I think actually in those initial stages I didn't realize until after how helpful that actually was, because it really was what allowed me the space to form this character and who Maria was without fear of like straying far from like Thea's experience. And I think that was so helpful. And then I think what it meant was when we were then on set, there was this space for Thea to be like, look, for example, when I wrote this scene, this is how it was for me. And to give me the opportunity to use that if it was helpful for me, and to not if it wasn't helpful for me. And yeah, I think that was like the balancing act that I feel like was very led by Thea and was really ultimately very helpful for me.
For me, I remember her sending me Vlad's videos and pictures, and I wrote back, I was like, I actually know a couple of people who could play this better than me, because we're physically so much different. But then Thea really let me into her world, let me talk to her and her mom and Vlad's friends. She sent me some of Vlad's journals.
Wow.
So I made a very extensive homework. But in my head, I kept analyzing, like, is this going to be what she imagined it to be or who I need to be? So I remember doing the homework and I couldn't wait for the cameras to just start rolling so we can just go there and do it. And once we did it, she had trust in me, I had trust in her, and we all, I think, had a lot of trust in each other.
Yeah.
So it was fun, it was easy. I mean, it wasn't fun, it wasn't easy, but it was such a nice collaboration. It was amazing, I think.
Yeah, thank you. And I think there's definitely evidence of that in the film. The chemistry you have is father and daughter.
The first time we saw each other, we were just red.
Yeah. It was literally crazy. We were like immediately connected.
And the hug was like,
yes. Yeah,
Oh,
truly.
that's lovely. And you see it in the film. You captured it perfectly. We're going to do just one more from me before we throw to the audience. If you don't have anything, I have plenty more, but I want to give you all an opportunity. And Thea, back to you again. I suppose I love just how real and balanced this film is, and I'm sure that story in different hands, it's a much darker film that doesn't have any hope in it. And I suppose what in your process, how do you think you struck that balance?
I think it was just led by my experience and I guess how I view the world and the things that my dad taught me. And I guess the essence of the film is really led by who he was as a person, honestly. And I think after he died, I had this realization that this can really happen to anyone. And I think once you lose a loved one in that way, you realize that it then becomes part of your story. And you may not have ever expected that to be part of your story. And so I think in accepting that, without judgment, you then, in order to write a character, I can't judge them, right? So it's like I have to understand them and I have to extend grace to a point where I can write them in this whole way. And so I think it was really led by that. I didn't intentionally be like, oh, this can't be dark. It was just, it wasn't dark, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense, but it was just like, I didn't, and I fought for that throughout the process. I think the lack of, I guess, addiction story that this film has, and like the lack of the obvious traits and tropes it has, I kind of continue to fight for that throughout the process and just remind everybody what was important and why we all wanted to tell this story.
With Thea's help, definitely. I think we, prior to every scene, we sat down and we discussed why this scene was important and what she wanted to get out of it. Also, like, obviously, I know my character back and forth, so we, yeah, it's something you plan when you shoot a movie. You know where you need to be at a certain point of it. But also, thank you so much for what you said, because it's a wonderful compliment.
Yeah, I think it's about, like, as a director as well, reminding your cast where they've just been and where they're going next, and like the arc of each scene, because every scene you usually leave changed from when you entered it, whether that's negatively or positively. So I think as a director, it's one of your main jobs to guide your cast in that way. Yeah.
Also, it was a short shoot.
Yeah.
So we didn't have a lot of time to get lost. We were all the time very much inside the material.
Yeah, definitely. I think me and Olan have worked together from short films, and so we have a really good shorthand in terms of how we want to work and what we want to do. And I think I always knew that I wanted this film to not be flat. Like, I didn't want it to be a social realism that was flat and gray and anything like that. And I wanted the colors to juxtapose the themes, because like he is someone that's so full of life and color, you know, and he's not from here. He's from a sunny place. and the music and all of those things, like, it speaks color to me. And so we agreed very early on that it wasn't going to be that, and that's not films that either of us want to make. And Olan worked a lot on the grade from the beginning, like, to bake it into our lot that we were seeing when we were watching it, and to give it the texture. And we looked a lot at photos, like Alex Webb, was it? And Saul Leiter, and like some of their photos early on, and kind of gained reference from them and like different films. We also had the benefit of a screen test, so we were able to figure out our cinematic language earlier that year that we shot, and kind of tired these guys out in the screen test by like shooting loads of coverage and figuring out which style that we liked. And we also had an amazing production designer, Eleanor, who's also here. Stand up. Who worked, honestly, Eleanor's detail is incredible. Like, having her is a dream, and she took the photo references I had and ran with them tenfold, and really like brought all the richness to life. Like, even the Skype scene that looks like it's Belgrade, that was shot in Bristol. Like, Eleanor fucked that up. Like, she made it look all wooden, like everything. So yeah, it was really a combination of all the heads of department, honestly.
Yes.
But yeah. Trust the process is number one, for sure. Like, even up to now, like, you know, 2 weeks ago, we didn't have all the cinemas we have now on release date, and now we do. And so I'm expressive. Okay? And like, yeah, trust the process is the number one lesson I think I have learned in this time. The second one is, I think, self-belief, and just reminding yourself that you are where you wanted to be, however many years before. And there's always, I guess, the hustle and the motivation always wants you to be somewhere else, and it's really easy to forget where you are. And like, you become really accustomed to throwing big like numbers around, for example, like how the money that we're dealing with, and it's like, what? This shouldn't be normal to me right now. And so I think reminding yourself of how far you've come, and also just maintaining the networking across. Like, I made this film with people that I've been working with for a long time, and I pray that I will always continue to do that, because that's what's important. And I feel like it is felt in the film, the love that was poured into it, I believe comes out of it. Yeah. Yeah, I think on my laptop there's like 25 drafts, but I think officially, I don't know, 4 or something. But basically, every time you deliver a draft, there's like drafts in between that you and your producers go back and forth on before you deliver it to your execs. But yeah, when I say 25 drafts, it's not like massive rewrites every time. It's just like small changes. But in terms of the process, when I first started, I was trying to figure out whose perspective to tell it from the daughters or from the fathers. And I was on a scheme called iFeatures, which really helped my producer and I figure out that early stage of the script and whose perspective to tell it from. And I think early on we got a note from our script editor, Roger, which was to free yourself from the truth, because I think there were things that I was trying to make work that happened in real life that didn't work for a film. And so I think releasing yourself from that was really helpful. And I decided to land on his perspective because I found him infinitely more interesting than me, I guess. And yeah, I think once I got that free yourself from the truth note, I was really able to see the story for what it was on the page. And it's like it is based on real events heavily, but they're also characters in their own right. And it became way easier to pay homage to that and what was on the page, and still being steered by my instincts and what I knew was true or not. But just allowing that story, the story that you see, room to grow and not constraining it to like my personal experience. Yeah.
Thank you. Before we go, I wanted to ask wonderful actors, what is something that you think you're going to take away from playing Vlad, from playing his daughter? What do you think you're going to take away from this film? You thought you got away with just one question.
Yeah, no, it was so perfect. It was so good to be true. I think it's gonna sound like a cliche, but just to like be kind and feel other people and see other people and let other people see you. And also, I know. So one very interesting thing about, so we're all so strict to ourselves. And then you get to play someone like Vlad and you find a reason to justify every single thing he does. So I guess from this movie, I'm going to learn how to justify some of the things I do. Be nice to yourselves. Like,
Yeah.
We're really mean to ourselves. At least I am. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel like there's so much to take away from this role, but I think actually I might like shift the question slightly to say like, because as this role is like based on Thea, I feel like the set that we were in was something that I've actually never experienced. I feel like everyone was so connected to this story and committed to telling this story. And I feel like that was because of Thea. And I feel like when you are, I mean, like for all these questions about like her process and all of this stuff, I feel like there's something so much to be said about when you are a good person and when you are committed to a story and when you're committed to storytelling and to collaboration, that actually the environment that creates is like the best environment to create art in. And it was just such an amazing experience to be able to like play in that space and to explore in that space because it felt so safe and so free because of that. So. And
we're also all here huge fans of vulnerability. So yeah, that's...
Yeah, I think more of us should be. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Congratulations,